Hi, I'm Kellie Parks of Calmwaters Cloud Accounting, and I love cloud apps that make the lives of accountants and our clients easier, and bookkeepers, which is what I am. And so I have met Tom a few times. So this is Tom Zahentner of Accruer. Hey, Tom.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
And you're welcome. And so Tom and I see each other at events, and actually, we're just coming off a really cool event where we got to talk about what you're up to. And so now we're going to share what you're up to with other people. A little bit about you. You're a CPA. You actually do accounting. You are part of a firm. You're not just shilling an app here, right? You're
Correct.
used this. You built this for yourselves. Is this what happened?
We built it for ourselves. Our CEO hoarded it for 8 years, and then I convinced him. I pried it out of his hands and said, we got to give it to other people. So that's what we've been doing for the last two.
Okay, I love that you called it hoarding it. And so FinOptimal is sort of the parent company. You've got a couple of apps going on, but the one that we're going to talk about today is so just super quick. You guys have and gals have apps that sync data from QBO to Sheets and two-way and that kind of thing. But today we're going to talk about Accruer. And what does Accruer do?
Accruer gets you out of the spreadsheets for prepaids, deferred revenue, fixed assets, payroll accruals. It is the easiest way to do that type of accrual accounting in QBO. You simply write for the period, and Accruer does everything for you. So no more spreadsheets for accruals. That's what Accruer is doing.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing this and a weird little nuance of Canadians versus Americans accounting. Canada is 99% accrual accounting, even for small businesses. We have a VAT tax. We are all accrual accounting. I have clients that deferred revenue is my gig with them, for example, and like that's how we live. So when I first started hanging out with all these cool American accountants and bookkeepers, I was mystified that really outside of accounts payable, because even a lot of accounts receivable seems to be cash.
Yeah,
Actually, a lot of accounts payable, a company is of a bigger size. There's a lot of cash accounting going on down there.
too much.
We don't do that. So and so it was interesting the difference. But tell me the main benefit of Accruer for accounting professionals.
Anybody can do accruals with Accruer. I think that to me is the golden kind of offer there. I think a lot of firms struggle with, well, who's going to provide this service? How are we going to service these clients? It simplifies it where if you can write for the period, you can offer accrual accounting. Of course, increased efficiency. It literally happens in 20 seconds without a run button. Increased accuracy will prorate for you to the penny. If you change information, it'll fix everything for you and recalculate and rebook. And it also creates backup files. So as many people as I talk to that are doing accruals, some of them aren't even keeping any sort of record, any sort of subledger, any sort of backup file. This automates all of that for you. And again, it's literally just writing for the period.
So this really helps. This is what we'll call a bit of a gateway into the mystifying or the elusive advisory services, right? Which I know is a big thing right now, but a lot of people are like, okay, well, what is advisory services? How do we even offer it? This is one of those examples where you're moving into the advisory role because you're not just coding from the bank feed, right?
100%. And you can offer like really give you like pro forma financials, and we'll show you that a little bit because you can have your
Sure.
goals booked out. You can have your deferred revenue in the P&L at all times. So not only are you not just messing around in spreadsheets, rushing to get things closed, but you're seeing not just this month, but future months, which can help you paint the picture for your client. Hey, this is where the business is going based on where you are today.
Sure. And that helps with cash flow. Right?
100%.
And it's weird. I've always said the problem with cash flow is it's only as good as the data that exists, right? So it's all well and good to say, hey, we're going to do cash flow projections on what, right? Okay, so do you want to do a demo for us? Because I'd love to see it in action.
Let's do a demo. So
Okay.
Accruer, again, prepaid expenses, deferred revenue, fixed assets, payroll accruals. I'm going to start with the prepaid expense example. Prepaid
Okay.
expenses and deferred revenue are nearly identical in the way that they operate. So to be a little bit more specific as I set this up, Accruer is really going to be the best for any sort of accrual accounting where it is time-based. Hey, spread this over this period of time or recognize this at this period of time, right? So I wouldn't use this for some sort of like usage-based revenue recognition, but anything that's time-based is going to be a home run for us. Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? Insurance is such, or prepaid rent, such a great example of this, right? Or
Any prepaid, right? Like all you have to do, like let's say I just prepaid 3 months of insurance for $30,000. I just write for the period 5/7/2025 to 8/6/2025. It's going to immediately calculate and book all of those entries to spread it over that period of time. So one of the key drivers of Accruer's efficiency is you do not need to go to another app once it is set up. We'll cover setup a little later on, but like you're working in QBO, you're working in Ramp, you're working in Bill.com, you write for the period, you say the dates. The second that data hits QuickBooks, Accruer works its magic.
okay, so it's a two-way sync.
Correct. It is a two-way sync and it's reading and writing from QuickBooks in real time. It's all done through the QBO API. So no browser extension, no screen scraping, not affected by all the weird UI changes that happens. And it's event driven. So there's webhooks that QBO tells us, hey, something changed. Accruer sees it, starts going.
Okay. So do you start the transaction in QBO then?
Great question. So we care about two things. We care about that it says for the period, has a valid date. We'll cover valid dates in a little bit. You can have other stuff in a description. Again, I'll cover that. But we care about for the period and it's hitting a P&L account directly. So we don't care if it starts in QBO or starts in another system, as long as when it gets into QBO, it's hitting the P&L and says for the period.
Okay, so the description is one of the key things that makes the magic happen.
The description is the key thing. It's one of two, but it's by far the most important to remember to write for the period. All right.
So that's cool. I don't think I've seen another app that a description drives it. That's cool.
And people will say it feels like it's just a part of QuickBooks, which to me is very important. Like in today's day and age, there's so many different apps, so many different logins. Got to go here, got to go there. Like we're meeting you where you work. You're already in QuickBooks or you're already in your AP system. Just add the phrase for the period and everything's going to happen.
Okay, and so what aid programs does it? Oh, first, can I just get this out of the way?
Yeah.
You, Accruer is working on your SOC 2 certification. Thank you. You are on the Intuit App Store. For
Yes.
anybody who doesn't know, if you are on the Intuit App Store, you have to go through security jumps and hoops and all of the things. So that's that. Just getting the security stuff discussion out of the way.
100%.
Um, and, and then other apps you integrate with?
Just QuickBooks Online. We're QuickBooks
So
specific.
okay, so then when you talk about the bill pay and stuff, I'm a little out to lunch on what
Yeah.
happens there.
So we're integrating with QuickBooks. Those
Right,
apps are integrating with QuickBooks.
right.
We only care about a description and an account classification. So we inherently have product synergy with any app that is syncing to QuickBooks. Like the work that we've done with Ramp, we don't need to do any development work. In Ramp, you write for the period, Ramp syncs to QuickBooks, brings a description from Ramp to QuickBooks. The description says for the period, Accruer runs. So it's
Okay,
a natural sync just because other apps go to QuickBooks and we're watching
right.
QuickBooks and reading and writing from there.
Okay,
All right.
okay, I got
So I'm going to show you the entries. This is a kind of a basic starting point, and then I'll come back here. We'll make a couple edits. We'll talk about closed periods and how Accruer will handle all of that. And of course, I'm going to get to the reconciliation and the reporting because this doesn't just calculate and book, it also gives you the backup file. But
it. Okay,
before I move on, I just want to call out, right? I wrote 5/7 to 8/6. It's going to prorate the first and last month based on the number of days because I included days in that date. So when I show you the entries, there's going to be a proration. All right. So I'll refresh this. And while I was talking, it took that 30K and it booked out all of those entries for me. I have it set by default to roll 12 months into the future if relevant. You can control that. But literally, I wrote for the period and this entire 30K is accounted for perfectly. So let's look at how this works. Today, it is posted to the P&L and we immediately reverse it to the balance sheet. So see, reverses
Okay.
the activity. Then there is one entry at the end of the month every month to recognize that month's share of that particular accrual. Okay. So the automated entries look a little bit like this. I'm going to cover the description in a second. The name, the class, if you track expenses to customers, if you track revenue to projects, that'll all flow through to here. What I think the most important piece of this is this memo, which is a pre-populated citation on every automated entry that we post. And it's got a link to what created it. So at any point, if you're reviewing or if an auditor asks, why is that there? You can copy and paste and you're right back to that parent entry where you wrote for the period.
So I have no dignity. I'm fine with asking what may be an obvious question, and people are going to go, "You're doing bookkeeping for clients? Really, Kel? How did it know that? Oh, never mind. Because okay, I answered my own question. I'm like, how did it know that the one was 8,900, the other two were 10, and then the last one I got? It's the date range. Okay, I answered my own question, and again with no dignity, so I'm fine. Okay,
No,
I
that's a
I,
good question.
I got it. I was like, oh, okay. Why? How did it know to split it up? Well, Kelly, duh. Okay, I got you.
Because of how I wrote the date. What I didn't
Right.
cover is how does it know if it's an asset or a liability, right? Or how does it know what balance sheet accounts to move it to, right? So your settings for a client is like, hey, for this client, for expenses, my default liability account should be accrued expenses. My default
Okay.
asset account should be prepaid expenses. If that's all that client has, you literally pick two things, you're off to the races. But if they do have situations where like, hey, I put prepaid insurance separate from regular prepaids, you can kind of just map those exceptions. But I'll explain now how it knows asset versus liability, because I think that's also a really important concept. Um, so let me add a line here. Nope, not May. We're already in May. So what I'm going to do is I'm adding a line and I'm also going to edit this first line. Okay, so I'm going to say April 2025 to August 2025. So not only did I change the date range, but I also changed how I wrote the dates. Okay, and these books are unlocked. So Accruer is going to edit all of those journal entries. The books are locked. It won't restate locked periods. It'll calculate the difference of what it should have posted in a locked period and catch it up for you or true it up for you in the first unlocked period. So we won't restate the books if the books are locked, but we'll also make sure that if you introduce new information like, hey, I got the date range wrong when I originally put it in, it'll fix it all for you in open periods.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Actually, I take on cleanup files. I just took on a cleanup file that left deferred revenue and posted it to cost of goods sold, and it was like 6, 7 years ago. I'm like, really? This has been sitting on the balance sheet this long, and and so we had to move it off the P&L. So that so we've got a whole new set of reports that are the ones not out of QuickBooks showing without those changes, right?
Balance sheet or the bodies are buried. That's what I always say.
Yeah, but they buried this body in cost of goods sold.
That's
That was
crazy.
weird, man. But I found it in the balance sheet. Yeah, it was sitting on the balance sheet when I went back to. Anyways, Kelly, don't get nerdy on accounting. Carry
No,
on.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Carry on, Tom.
All right, cool. So again, these books are unlocked. Okay. So in this case, I wrote April to August. So now it's going to be April 1st to August 30th. It already posted entries from May through August. So the May through August entries are going to get updated. It doesn't delete them and repost them. It doesn't post duplicates. It'll go in and just adjust the amount. So the audit history on our automated entries will show the audit log if you're making edits after it's already posted. Okay.
Okay. Can I
Yeah.
go ahead?
No. Okay. So April 2025 is before May. So it's going to create a new entry in April, but it also knows, hey, April's before May. So in April, it should be balanced with a liability account. An accruer is going to put the April portion to accrued expenses, flip it in May to prepaid expenses, and then draw it out of there moving forward. All right.
Mhm. This is pretty cool.
We're accountants who code. We built this for ourselves. Like I said, I had to pry this out of Jesse's hands to get it to be shared with other people.
So
So
cool.
the second row, something a little bit different here. I wrote text before for the period. I put text before that magic phrase. Whatever text comes before it will show up in the description of my automated entries. So that's how a user can control the level of detail in the GL for accruers entries. It's going to say reverses hotels for the conference, recognizes hotels for the conference, completely optional. Okay. Finally, we have one date, June 2025. So if you have something that needs to be recognized at a moment in time, one date across, but two dates. All right. How am I doing, Kelly? Is this making sense?
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I got stuck a little in the hotel thing. What's interesting is I've been using tags for conference expenses because you're often paying for them before the conference, and it's really hard to figure out how much one conference cost.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't want to do classes for them because I go to a lot of them, right? But I want to see how much I'm because I speak at them, I get paid to be there. I want to see what it actually costs me. So that's an interesting one. You had me at that one.
Or the period. That's it. That's a really, when we launched it, we were like SaaS companies. Everyone's got deferred
Yeah,
revenue. We found so many like concert halls and theaters and
yeah,
event planners because it's like you said, you got to line it up. And now it's
yeah,
just for the period April 2025 done. Um,
yeah. I've had a couple of SaaS companies, and we were forever playing with deferred revenue.
yep.
Yep. And never mind. I was about to go nerdy on SaaS companies, but never mind.
We'll do deferred revenue in a second, then you can nerd out while we're doing it.
Okay.
So here's the insurance. Right now, it's been updated from that prorated May to August 10K. Just cleaned it up. Boom, 5 entries for 6K each. Done.
Amazing. So you didn't actually have to use a numerical date form then.
Correct. Correct. There's a lot of different ways that you can write the dates, numbers, letters, abbreviations like AUG would work. We have a full guide on it. I'll say it must be a US date format. Every
Right.
date must at least be a month and year. So like for the period April to December 2025, only December 2025 would be recognized. And finally, the main thing, which you might laugh, don't put more dates in the description than you want Accruer to use. Like I've seen people put 8 different dates in a description and go, why isn't it working? Because you're confusing it. So like only
Right.
put dates that should be considered by the software. But otherwise, yeah, you can pretty much go crazy.
Okay. So I'm going to go off on a slight tangent. In Canada, we don't have a standard date format, and it drives me nuts.
Mm.
Right? We can basically use whatever we want. You should see us trying to import bank transactions into, if you're using a CSV file, trying to import them into a QuickBooks file. Anyways, that was totally
So
US
just
or,
letters
yeah,
I just they're like, I don't know if we're gonna use where we're gonna put the numbers. Just do letters. Just do letters. And for any firm owners who are watching this, or anyone who sets SOPs, my advice is tell the team that pick a way that you want to do it and tell the team it only works this way. Because
yeah,
otherwise they're gonna invent a new date that doesn't actually exist and get confused. Happens
yeah.
all.
Okay, cool. So I was looking forward to seeing this P&L to see the change in it.
Yep.
Can, so can we go into one of those transactions so I can see that description again?
Course. So let's show you that this is going to have the audit history. Well, no, this is the April one. So here you can see in April, it's balanced by accrued expenses. Okay. So this is a new entry. And then let's go out to here. I'll show you one of the ones that was edited, and then I'll show you the description. So here's the audit history, right? And we can see all we did was we updated the amount here. So it's really easy to follow.
Right?
Yes, let's get to the description.
By the way, I call audit history the Hotel California of QuickBooks Online. Once you're in that audit trail, trying to get out, right?
We don't have to, yeah, exactly. You're stuck.
Okay,
Um,
and so I'm going to take a little bit of your time with this app demo. Right Tool. Have you heard of Right Tool? So
uh,
that fixes that. And even the free version gets you out of the Hotel California of Audit Trail. Right
really.
Tool.
All
Right.
right.
You got to look at it, Tom. If you're in QuickBooks Online, you'll lose your mind once you start using this with excitement. Okay, back to Accruer.
Oh, I like them. I like what they're doing. They were just on the us and them were both on Jason's list of apps every firm should use, no exceptions. So
I saw it.
I like being elbow to elbow with them. Hector's a great guy. So
Amazing. Yeah,
cool. Let's talk balance sheet tie out. Actually, let me book some deferred revenue really quickly just to add some more
sure.
fun stuff in there, and then we can get into the balance sheet tie out. Um, so this is going to work nearly identically to the prepaid expense module, if you will, of Accruer. Okay, so software, let's just say this is, for the period May 2025 to, I don't know, August 2025. I'm so not creative with these anymore. And then the services like premium set up for the period June 2025. All right. So same exact concept here. I'm booking it to the P&L and I'm writing for the period. Okay. So if you're doing invoices and you have products in QBO, just make sure the product is mapped to a P&L account. I know some folks will map it directly to deferred revenue and then pull it out from there. The only difference would be if you start using Accruer, change it to a P&L account, hit the P&L, and Accruer is going to do its thing for you, just like it does for expenses. I didn't cover this on the expense side, but if you've got many, many lines and need them all to be accrued, you can just simply put it for the period in here and it'll apply to all of the P&L accounts on the invoice. So you don't have to copy and paste 20 times if you got a 20 line invoice. Place it once and it'll do the whole thing for you.
Okay, I have a scenario for you.
Dude,
I'm not sure if I'm going to describe it correctly. So, we have a VAT tax up here, and a lot of businesses are paying that VAT tax out quarterly.
yep,
So they're actually making quarterly adjustments. So let's say that they had an invoice in December that really is deferred revenue until the end of January, March.
sure.
And then part of that invoice is going to be deferred revenue into June.
Okay.
So you're splitting it into two different periods. 50% is going to go into the first quarter and 50% is going to go into the second quarter. Can you
Yep.
handle that scenario?
I mean, if you're talking about, hey, we have to split this over two different, I would break it into two different lines. This one's for the period X to Y. This one's for the period Y to Z.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That also happens when people want to allocate expenses. Hey, I got this $30,000 bill, but like half of it is for G&A and half of it is for engineering. Just break it into two lines, tag it with two different classes, same description, and Accruer is going to treat them independently. At the end of the day, Accruer is looking at every line. If it says for the period, it's going to do its thing. So you can break things out into any combination that you want.
Okay, cool. I guess that was an obvious way to do it, but I needed somebody to tell me.
Oh,
It's
no.
all things are only obvious in hindsight, right?
People ask all the time, and I also live and breathe this 24/7, so it's easier for me to say things off the top of my head. But like same thing, right? Here's the revenue, boom, four equal journal entries, $1,000 pushed out while we were talking, right? One of the things people also say is like sometimes they're going to a client meeting and they go, oops, we did this wrong. But rather than trying to fiddle around in a spreadsheet and make sure they can edit everything on the fly, they can just be talking and just write for the period, click save, write for the period, click save. Oh, cool. How's your dog? That's great. Okay, yeah, now the financials are ready. Because in 20 seconds, a crew is going to clean it all up or book it all out for you. So the speed is just a huge selling point. Um, but let's talk about balance sheet, okay? So I mentioned earlier, Accruer also creates a backup file for us. So what I'm going to look at here is let's talk about tying out prepaid expenses. Okay. I've got $33,000 sitting in prepaid expenses and we want to reconcile every month. I know not every firm does this, but to me, that is a best practice. It's a good control, reconcile the balance sheet at the end of the month. So for the first time, we're going to go into FinOptimal. Okay. So this is our portal, if you will. Okay, on the
Okay.
left-hand side where it says FinOptimal Inc., that would be the firm's name. VIP 101, that would be a client. So you can toggle between all of your clients within one portal. You can provision access. These team members get these user roles. These team members can see these clients, all the things that you would expect to be able to do. But once you set up Accruer, you're really only coming in here to pull reports, which is why I primarily focus on QBO. You don't spend a lot of time in here ever. So right here, VIP 101, we're on Accruer.
So if there was other companies, there's like a drop down, obviously.
Yeah, it's like got the similar like little nav bar up here where you can view your different clients, or you can
Okay.
go to my clients and toggle between them.
Okay.
So yep, a lot of
Okay.
different on there. So we're on workflows. I'm going to collapse this sidebar. So workflows are settings. I'm going to come back to this in a second to explain fixed assets. But what I want to do first is just jump to reports. Okay. And from left to right, let me just orient you to what you're looking at here. So top left, where it says all data. Okay. These are different sets of data. Many of them are filtered. Okay. So I have all data, prepaid, revenue waterfall, deferred revenue. These are things that I've saved previously so that I can come back to them. If I click on prepaid, for example, I'm now looking at my prepaid data set, which I've saved, and I'm looking at it as a roll forward. So this is the how you can view that data set. Could also look at it as an activity report, which would be like your journal lines or your transaction reporting QBO. But roll forward is our most popular view. And what you're going to get there is one row per accrual, 4 columns per month, rolling forward that balance. What is the beginning balance of the accrual? What have we added? What's been recognized? What's the ending balance? Your month end close process should be tie the ending balance of that month to QBO. If it matches, great, you're reconciled. And if it doesn't, that means there's a manual journal entry in QuickBooks in that account that Accruer did not post. And that's what
Got
you
you.
go investigate and resolve. There's 9 million different ways to customize this reporting. We can add in different data points. We can filter in different ways. A popular thing is to add in the expense or the invoice number. But I'm going to pause here, Kelly, like throw curveballs, ask questions, or say this is the best reporting ever. I don't have any questions. Up to you. You pick how you want to do it.
You want me to go with that last option?
I'm
This
saying that I would like that better, but it's totally your call.
uh, I don't have any questions.
Cool.
You've explained it really well. It's pretty straightforward. It directly solves a pain in the butt problem. Well, it's not a problem. It solves something it's just stupid for us to do.
Yes, exactly. And it standardizes the process across the firm, which for smaller firms, it may not feel like an issue yet. But I often say that like accounting firm leadership, there's like different coaching trees. It's almost like you played for a different coach. So I came from PwC, I came from BDO, I came from Grant Thornton, and I learned to document prepaid expenses or deferred revenue this way. So you've
Right.
got multiple different templates floating around a firm, and then you're trying to train staff on, I got to do it Megan's way, and then I got to do it Josh's way. Well, no, this collapses it to there is a standard process. I write for the period. Every client schedule looks the same. We all row in the same direction. And that's a very underappreciated part of standardizing the accrual process.
Yeah, no, I love that. Actually, I'm a big believer in standardizing things. I preach it all the time, including all like how we naming conventions, uh, client files, the chart of accounts must be numbered, and this is our numbering system unless there's an industry one or we don't do taxes, so unless the tax firm has one specific one.
Yep.
Um, so this lends itself really nicely to that.
I love it.
Yeah,
I have one last thing that I can show you quickly, which is how we do fixed assets, because it is different than prepaids and deferred. So let me just cover that really quickly. And this is
sure.
book depreciation. So if you're doing tax depreciation, this isn't going to be the solution for you. But if you are doing book depreciation, this will work. So
Okay.
our workflows are our settings. You've got an expenses workflow for all of your expenses. You've got a revenue workflow for all of your revenue. But you get one fixed asset workflow per fixed asset account. Okay, or I should say you can create one for each account. The reason we do that, expenses and revenue, you hit the P&L account, you write for the period. Fixed assets, you hit the fixed asset account. You don't need to write for the period. Okay. What we do is we set a default useful life. So for example,
Oh, okay.
for computers and tablets, I've picked 36 months. I tell it.
I would pick 5. I would pick as long, like from the time you left the store till you got to your office.
I think we go down. We do have one. Don't ask why. Somebody wanted it and we said fine. But you can set whatever default you want here. Okay. All you got to do at this point, again, we don't care about the transaction type. We care about we care about what account it hits. You hit computers and tablets, bank feed, credit card transaction, doesn't matter. If I book this here, it's
Can I ask a
expensive
question
computer.
before I forget?
Dude,
Does it have to go in the description or can it go in the memo line? Can you do this from the bank feed?
yes. It can go in
So,
if it goes in the memo. So for fixed assets, we don't need to write anything. Okay, I just booked this. I didn't write for the period. Doesn't matter. For expenses and revenue, description or memo field will work all the same. If it's in the memo field, it's going to automatically apply to every P&L line on that transaction. If it's
got ya.
line, it'll just hit. And to get even more technical, if you got it in both and they don't match, the line will override the memo. So if we've got a 50 line invoice, one of the 50 is for a different period of time, for the period on that line, for the period in the memo, you're good to go.
What about journal entries?
All the same. Works no
Okay.
problem. Yep.
All right. So you did say it doesn't matter what the transaction type is, but it's worth asking. Okay.
100%. People always, I say that and I get asked 3 times. This is very common because it's like, really? Really? Yes. Does it? All we care about is the account type. Because again, on the back end, as you know, every transaction results in a journal entry. So all we're looking at is debits and credits to P&L accounts or fixed asset accounts that fit our criteria. We see it, we do our thing.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. So
Final,
right from the bank feed. Nice.
yes, bank feed all the same. Final thing on fixed assets, right? The default setting is if I book it in May, take a full month of depreciation in May. Okay. But what if I want to prorate it? One setting in our app to change it. What if I want to place it in a service in a different period? Or what if I want to change the useful life? That is when, on a case-by-case basis, you can write for the period. So if you don't want this one to be 36 months starting in May, hey, this is for the period September 2025 to August 2030. This one computer will depreciate over that. Everything else in your computers and tablets account will follow your default rules.
Okay.
Right? That's Accruer.
That's cool.
That's it. Very simple. Onboarding is literally pick your accounts, book one journal entry. You say, hey, as of today, here's my carrying balances and prepaid expenses. And I want you to recognize them for the period May 2025 to January 2026 to December 2025. Immediately takes the whole thing, books it out, 20 minutes, never have to touch it again.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad Jesse decided not to hoard this any longer.
He's gonna get
Uh,
mad when I said that, but it's okay. I like getting him. I like pushing his buttons.
oh, okay, right. That's your bratty side.
Oh yeah, that's what our one-on-ones are, is just me pushing buttons.
Oh, okay. Well, you certainly are a fun guy. And to get a little bit off topic, uh, I don't. I mean, I have a really good social. I live on a lake, so we got a really great community, and I laugh a lot here. But that last night in Scott, when we were just huddled up in the corner, and there was what, maybe 8 of us.
Yeah.
My stomach hurt from laughing, and I was mostly laughing, I believe, at you.
Listen, I like hanging out. What can I say? I like hanging out. I like having a good time. I like laughing, try to make people laugh. It's fun. That's my social current. That's my love language. That's all my stuff. I just want to laugh and have a good time. So thank you.
Now,
I'm glad that was super fun.
now, if I've got this straight, humans behind the apps, you 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 are a comedian, right?
No, I would hate to say that I've tried to do comedy and I've been terrible at it, but I'm trying to find my medium. So
Okay,
stand up is
cool.
definitely not my medium, even though I've bravely done it. and done okay, and definitely also failed miserably. So, but listen, you got to take your lumps. So
Okay, you got to take your lumps. Yeah. Well, that's like me at vibe coding.
there you go.
I'm definitely giving it a try, but I'm taking some lumps right now. As we were talking about extension, I want to build for financial sense, and I'm failing. Our friend Brian is winning
Yes,
on vibe coding for carbon. But anyways, that's a whole other topic. We got to take our lumps on some of these things, right?
exactly. You got to roll with it. You got to chip away at what works for you. If you don't try, you'll never know whether or not you could have done it. So you
Right.
gotta just be fearless. Sometimes you bomb in a room full of people and nobody laughs. Other times people laugh. So,
Right. There you go.
it is what it
I
is.
super appreciate the demo here. I look forward to getting the word out on this. And yeah, that was great. Like I already said, it does something for us that there's absolutely no good reason for us to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so you've got lots of support channels. I did see that. And what's your website? And the website into the
Yeah.
video links anyways, but how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. FinOptimal.com, FINOPTIMAL.com. Or look me up on LinkedIn. I got links all over my page pushing you to go look at our site. Or just search Accruer, Accrue with an R at the end. You'll find it that way too.
That's great. Well, thanks for
Love
your
it.
time today, Tom.
Oh,
And I look forward to people adopting your app.
can't wait. Love it. Thank you.